From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Keeping your lawn nice and green.
The demand is great.
How some students are getting important experience while also helping homeowners keep their lawnmowers in tip-top shape. Rivers rising, the impact all that winter snow is having on the mighty Mississippi River, as pasture and range conditions in key cattle-producing states continue to suffer.
But we're still going to be well below year-ago levels.
How that's impacting bottom-line numbers right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Drought conditions are really starting to cut into the nation's cattle herd, with the latest cattle on feed numbers posting another decline at U.S. feedlots for March. AgDay's Michelle Rook is here with a deeper dive into those numbers.
Clinton USDA put the on-feed number at 4.4% below a year ago, with placements down nearly 0.5% and marketings down 1.2%. Now, while the on-feed number was slightly above estimates, it still puts total inventory in feedlots at only 11.6 million head. This is the lowest number on feed since 2017 for this time period. It's also coming off a record for the series in April of 2022 at 12.1 million. Market analysts say this isn't unexpected with the drought conditions that continue to persist in the central and southern plains, and those numbers are likely to tighten even more going forward.
But we're still going to be well below year-ago levels, well below, some of these historical levels. We know that the numbers are tight, and they're going to be that way for a substantial period of time. Maybe it's a couple of years as we're still looking to see, okay, are the heifers coming into the feed yard yet or not? And regardless, we've got a smaller cow herd, we've got tighter numbers, so these on-feed numbers are going to stay tight.
He also points out that while the placements number was above estimates, most of the increase came in the south and was tied to the lingering drought and the grazing situation. Texas saw the biggest increase, with range and pasture conditions at 58% Porterberry poor, and 52% of the winter wheat crop is also receiving that rating.
In fact, we've heard about poor wheat conditions in the south, and looking for a home for those cattle. It was time for them to be placed. They had to be moved. We were hearing about different sale barns calling to the northern cattle buyers and saying, hey, you better get down here. We're going to have some big runs here in a short amount of time. So those cattle had to be moved pretty quickly and find a home. So there's a reason for your bigger placements in the south. It's basically going to be tied to the weather, dry conditions.
Barlick says the higher placements may also mean a shift in the normal seasonal pattern of when cattle are ready for market, with more ready in the summer versus this fall. Now, Barlick again stresses that there is no evidence of heifer retention yet indicated in this cattle on feed report. He doesn't think we'll see the rapid expansion like in 2015 because of higher interest rates, higher input costs, and drier weather. Now, while the outlook indicates a shift to El Nino, the drought has not broken yet in many areas.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Happening right now, Tyson Foods says it's investigating a fire at its facility in Madison, Nebraska. That fire started Sunday morning and temporarily shut down operations. Crews arriving on scene could see smoke rising. The fire was put out by the afternoon. Now, the Madison Fire Department says 2 Tyson workers were injured and taken to a hospital, but were later released. The cause of the fire is not known right now. And we have new information about that massive fire at a dairy farm in Texas that killed approximately 17,000 head of cattle. State fire officials confirming the explosion and fire at South Fork Dairy Farm was accidental and caused by malfunctioning equipment. They say there is no evidence to indicate foul play. Investigators say the fire started in the northern end of the dairy in pen number 3. They say the fire, which was due to liquid fuel, hydraulic oil, and other flammable materials, rapidly grew. Now, one person was critically injured in the blaze, and at last report, she was in stable condition. More criticism of the Black Sea grain deal from Russia. Reuters reporting the head of the Russian Grain Union is saying the deal has not yielded anything positive for Russia. Moscow frequently criticized the deal that started last summer, allowing Ukrainian grain to move out of the country in an effort to stave off global hunger. Now, Russia has said it will not allow another extension of the initiative, which is due to run out Thursday, May 18th, unless its demands are met. Russian leaders want obstacles removed from their exports of grain and fertilizer, along with supplies of ag machinery and parts. Now, so far, the Black Sea Grain Initiative has moved more than 28 million metric tons of ag product out of Ukraine, with more than half of the shipments involving corn. Planting is continuing to gain steam. USDA reporting 14% of the corn crop is now planted. That's 3% ahead of the 5-year average. For soybeans, 9% planted. That's 5% ahead of average, while cotton at 12% planted. Spring wheat sits at 5%, 7% off the normal pace. Flood warnings are going up along a 400-mile stretch of the Mississippi River. Check out this map from the National Water Center. In red, where flooding is already occurring, and in orange, where it is likely this week. Now, this is due to rapid snow melt after record snowfall in the northern Great Lakes. Already, one shipping company, American Commercial Barge Line, says it is not running in portions of the upper Mississippi and expects several locks to be closed in the area. But we haven't said goodbye to chillier temperatures just yet. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht joins us. And Matt, there are additional frost freeze concerns.
Yeah, a couple of pockets, some colder air. Now notice our afternoon temperatures come back up more into the 40s and the 50s, but we'll have another night where we're going to be watching the potential for a frost or freeze Tuesday night and into Wednesday. But the afternoon, starting to see those warmer temperatures work back up here towards the north, and it is going to take some time. But overall, like we talked about last week, they expect at or below average highs and lows for a good portion of the nation. Precipitation estimate, we'll go ahead and slow this down and take a better look at it coming up in just a little bit. Our next system starts to take shape back out here a little bit more to the west, that energy coming off the west coast and then dragging back up towards the east. So a decent amount of rainfall, otherwise pretty quiet into the Midwest and back here to the east coast. They got into Oklahoma and into Colorado, where you may start to see not only some rain, but also the potential for some snowflakes as well. Check this out. You got Burt County. Matt sent this one in. A beautiful sight here and something we don't typically see as we get deeper into the south. Of course, that coming in from Nebraska. Clear skies have allowed Mother Nature to paint an amazing scene over North America lately. Matt Nelson again sending this one in, capturing the northern lights out of Nebraska. Spectacular to see. Now, of course, have more on your forecast coming up.
China cancels a purchase of corn. We'll discuss what it means for our markets coming up next in analysis. And later, the sweet smell of a perfectly mowed lawn. We'll see how Tennessee students are learning to keep their tools in top shape in the country.
Ag Day is sponsored by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator steel closing wheels, perfected in conventional, excels in no-till. Order 12 to 16 rows today and qualify for free shipping or 20% off an end zone moisture management package.
Not great news to start the week, with USDA announcing China canceled a nearly 13 million bushel buy of old crop corn, and that helped pull corn lower. Michelle Rook is back with more in Markets Now.
Another down day in the grains on Monday. Mike Zuzolo, Global Commodity Analytics, joining us. And looks like the corn market, we saw more funds selling on Monday, Mike, but some of it was pushed by this China cancellation, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think most certainly it was, Michelle. The problem with the corn continues to be we almost need a daily demand or daily export reporting to keep the bulls running, especially with this diverging price between the May, which is getting ready to go into delivery later this week, versus the July, which has been sinking as of last week. And the cancellation today, I think if you put that together with what's happening with the Black Sea corridor and the grain initiative, I think China and Russia are using agriculture as an agriculture weapon, a trade weapon, and they're playing hardball with us. And I think the trade took it at very face value, especially after those export inspections came out and really didn't change any minds.
So that probably weighed on corn as well as the wheat market, soybeans. When we talk about competition, the fact that Brazil's undercutting us in the market is also weighing on that bean market, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I think the product market really hasn't come back to the table as far as the Argentine meal bowl. It's just not there anymore. And the trade's still watching for it. But I think they've kind of given up at this point, that the Argentine story maybe is still going to revitalize or revamp itself. But we'll probably have to wait till the May WASDE report for that. And I think there's a lot to trade in between now and then. And export inspections there again, and soybeans pretty dismal, probably the weakest of the three majors. And we're now starting to slip versus last year in terms of how much we're up, only I think 0.9% year to date.
And wheat not respecting some of these freezes that we saw over the weekend, when will wheat start trading weather?
Yeah, fresh 19-month low in the European market, fresh 21-month low in the soft red wheat now. I don't think we're going to trade weather until we find some authority figure like the Wheat Quality Council Tour. Kansas State goes out and does something and says this wheat is not going to get helped by the rain, or we have to wait again till the May WASDE when we get fresh 23-24 wheat supply demand numbers. I think the all wheat yield is due for a 5, maybe even 8 bushel to the acre drop between what's going on in spring wheat country and hard red wheat country. But I just don't think the trade cares right now.
It is frustrating for sure. Thanks for joining us, Mike Zuzolo, Global Commodity Analytics, and full analysis at our Markets Now podcast. More Ag Day coming up.
Ag Day is brought to you by Lamar's Toy Store, the largest and most diversified farm toy store in the U.S. They have new and old and do restorations and customizations too. You need to see it to believe it. Visit lamarstoystore.com or call us at 712-546-4305.
Ag Day Farm Country Forecast is brought to you by Calhoun Superstructure, engineered fabric buildings serving the agriculture and fertilizer industries for over 30 years. Visit calhounsuperstructure.com/AG. That's calhounsuperstructure.com/AG.
I wanted to start off taking a look at the afternoon temperatures. Now they are going to look a little bit warmer than what we had this past weekend, especially into the Midwest and back up here to the north. Notice Minneapolis at 53, Chicago at 47. That's where that coldest air is still locked in over the northern Midwest. That's going to be moving to the north with some warmer air starting to move in from the south. But unlike last week, where we had a couple of dips in the jet stream, bringing those sharp contrasts in the temperatures, we're going to go zonal early Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. There's that pocket of cold air lifting up to the north and the east. A very weak system picking up some of that moisture that we just talked about a little bit ago, Tuesday and into Wednesday. But notice the coldest of the cold stays back up here to the north rather than sinking down to the south. So while that weak low works to the east, a ridge of high pressure builds in over California, up into Oregon, and eventually Washington State as we get into our Thursday and Friday. That ridge is coming on the other side of this weekend. We'll call it kind of a weekend chill. Not as extreme as what we had last weekend, but you do want to make note that with this, you're looking at below average high temperatures and the potential for some more frost, if not a freeze. This is going to come just in time for the weekend. This ridge builds and will work to the east, which will bring about another warm up next week. Now, the precipitation outlook as we end this month and get into May, you got above average or wetter than normal conditions into the northeast. That's dry through the central plains as well as the Midwest, and then that ridge as it breaks down going to bring some moisture into the west coast. Now for the temperature outlook, there's that pocket of cooler than average, if not below normal temperatures between April 29th and May 3rd, with that ridge starting to bring those warmer temperatures to the west coast. Start off with Washington, Indiana, cloudy, high of 57, low about 34 degrees. Marshall, mostly sunny, high of 66, low of 43. And then we'll end it with a winner. South Dakota, mostly cloudy, high around 59 degrees.
Why do cattle have hooves instead of feet? Because they lactose. What's a farmer's favorite Bruce Springsteen song? Born in the USDA. That's all I got. I'm out of here.
And that's a good one. And if you have a joke you would like to share, we want to hear from you. Record a video of yourself telling your joke, and we're talking about those clean dad jokes, okay? Send them over to jokes@farmjournal.com. If we use it, you'll get a $25 Amazon gift card. Are milk markets swinging from a surplus to a shortage? Well, new numbers show not yet. The March USDA milk production report showed a 0.6% increase in year-over-year milk production. Cow numbers, they also increased 44,000 head over last year, but production per cow only gained 3 pounds.
Now, the thing that we were watching the most was cow numbers on this report. That was going to indicate whether we're starting to see a repeat of what we saw in 2021, when we started to see heavier culling because milk prices were lower. And that heavier culling over a number of month duration ended up it gave the perception that milk production was going to tighten. It didn't, but that was the perception. That's what drove us to record milk prices. So that was the thing that was the most important to look at on this report. And the surprise was that we actually gained 6,000 head of cows from February. So that puts our nation's herd at 9.435 million head. That's the highest cow numbers we've had since August of 2021.
Schmal says that indicates that farmers are not yet culling. Experts also say we are still in a milk surplus, even when you combine the cattle losses from the Texas dairy fire, California flooding, and the increase in cow slaughter, meaning milk prices still won't see much of an increase. But there is some good news on the dairy front. According to the National Milk Producers Federation, it says in its April report that the annual growth of total domestic use of milk in all dairy was positive from December through February. It says that follows several rolling 3-month periods of falling use during the peak of inflation. The leaders say the pace of growth in U.S. butter, cheese, and whey exports slowed during the same period. Now, they say the months around the start of the year are typically slower when it comes to exports, and they add that this year is no exception. But they say the slump was deeper a year ago. All right, it's time to fire up those lawnmowers. Up next, we're off to Tennessee, where students are learning how to keep those machines in tip-top shape in the country.
In the Country on Ag Day is brought to you by Pivot Bio. What if you had the nitrogen you need already on seed? Pivot Bio is the first company to apply nitrogen on seed. The nitrogen you need, now on seed, from Pivot Bio. Learn more at pivotbio.com.
Farmers just don't have fields to tend to, but yards to mow too. As Charles Denny introduces us to students at the University of Tennessee's Herbert College of Agriculture. They're learning mower and small engine science and can offer advice on how to prep your machine.
In a Tennessee spring with decent rainfall, it seems like we can just look away from our grass for a moment, turn back around, and it's grown a few inches. About all we can do with a fast-growing lawn is control it with a high-performing mower. And here, people who can get your machine humming again. Students in Biosystems Engineering and Soil Science at UT's Herbert College of Agriculture. Each spring, they repair and clean up mowers as a fundraiser for their organization, the American Society of Agricultural and Biological Engineers.
The demand is great. We usually are only servicing between 40 and 50 lawnmowers, and I think last year our number was 75 requests, and we had to cut it off at some point.
UT employees benefit here. They drop their mowers off, and for a donation of $65, you get a whole list of services.
A sharp blade will give your grass an even cut, and Herbert Senior Seth Cheney is among the students working there. Students also learn small internal combustion engine repair while providing this service, checking belts and other items, task all mower owners should do each spring.
You know, we're going to replace the air filter, the spark plug. We're going to clean up the mower, make it look as good as we can. And then we're going to, of course, sharpen the blade and make sure the blade's in good shape for a good clean cut.
The students clean the underside of mowers, scraping away caked grass and muck. Many are getting their hands on a mower for the first time. And this learning experience is an extension of what they get in the classroom and prep work for a future career.
Basically anything that we learned here we could go and use on our own lawnmowers in the future, and it's all a lot of it's teamwork as well, because you have to work with your fellow ASCP members and just work together to make the lawnmowers work.
Yeah, definitely. So I currently work in a lab environment, so being able to do more of the work itself, especially when it comes to changing out air filters, it'll be super helpful for sure.
A mower that's well cared for uses less fuel, sends fewer pollutants into the air, and just gives you a nicer looking lawn. And it never hurts to have an expert give your machine a checkup, getting ready for a season of cutting. This is Charles Denny reporting.
All right, thanks, Charles. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Davis.